Hello everyone, welcome to Season 5 of Go Battle League, and this season we've got the Little Cup to lead us out. The Little Cup is limiting things to 500 CP that haven't yet evolved at all. So with that in mind, you'll probably have read some forums and found that Bronzor is the king of the meta. And so I thought, well, I've got one, so I may as well try it out. We've also got Deino, which with some Dragon Breath spam is very, very deadly. However, it does get eaten alive by Charmers. And as my kind of side pick, spice pick, we've got Seel. And unlike the recommendation on PvPoke, I've gone with Lick over Ice Shard, because whilst Ice Shard does get you some better wins in the meta, it's still got some play against Deino anyway because of the Icy Wind, and Lick is a lot better against Bronzor. And as we mentioned, Bronzor is king of the meta. So with that in mind, let's hop into a few matches. These are my very first matches in the league, so it's going to be a bit of a spice. So we've got a Cyndaquil into the lead. Deino's Dragon Breath spam takes that out, and then in comes a Stunky. Doesn't like a Body Slam very much, it's Shadow, and then we get a Mischievous, which is of course not very good against a Dark type, so the Dragon Breath spam will take that out as well. We go for a Crunch, maybe we'll get a shield from this, and we do, but I don't think it's going to matter, because the Dragon Breath is going to finish the job. They're going to move off. We might as well shield this, because I think we can finish off Cyndaquil with Dragon Breath. And there we go. In comes Cyndaquil. Yeah, that's not going to last very long, is it? And there we go. Good game to my opponent. This is rank 1, so you see a bit of an eclectic mix, and I'm including it just for the sort of amusement value. So there you go. There's the team on the front screen. I think I reordered my sets this time to get it in a different order. So next up, we are coming into Deino into a Teddy Ursa. So as before, and that looks like it's got Lick, and that's going to be resisted by our Dark type, and the Dragon Breath just takes it apart. If there's anything I've learned from this, because whilst Bronzor is the king of the meta, Deino is probably the queen. So Houndour comes in, we resist their fire damage, we resist their dark damage. So that's good for us. And Body Slam does neutral quite a lot of it because it's a shadow. And then there's Granidos, which didn't last very long at all either. Some nice quick sets for you to warm up. I've got a few more matches that lasted a bit longer in the slightly later ranks. Right, so now we've got our first Bronzor lead. And as you can see, the Dragon Breath spam is not doing nearly as much here, because Bronzor's got some monstrous chunky defense. We are going to move straight into our Crunch, because that's really the only thing we've got that threatens Bronzor here. But if it lands, it will do quite a big chunk. So we're going to shield here, because Deino is a notionally hard counter against Bronzor, and they have shielded against us already. So we're just going to match shields for them. We outpace them to the charge moves, and this should be good enough. And as you can see, the Dragon Breath is adding up slowly. Still resists it, obviously, but it is still taking it down steadily. And we are double resisting their confusion damage. That's always a good place to be. And going Heavy Slam. And they've gone for a switch into their own Deino, which is hard to see because of the Dragon Breath spam. So we're just going to throw our own Body Slam to get rid of that. Goodbye. And in comes a Ladybah. That takes us out. That's unfortunate. However, we do have a Seel here. This is where we're going to bring the Seel out to play, see what it does. I think actually the Bronzor might have done better, but we'll go with the Seel instead. Aquatail does neutral here, so that's okay. And then we switch the Bronzor to catch the charge move. Probably overkill at this point because we've taken out their Bronzor, but still. There we go. And we're just going to peck away. As you can see, I've only got Side Shock on this one, and that's because I'm a Muppet who forgot to add Heavy Slam to it before starting. But I don't think it's going to matter in this case because I think they've only got Air Release. So there we go. And there's their Bronzor coming in. We've got Energy Lead. We've got Equal Shields. I'm fumbling my fingers. Oh, well, yes. As you can see, Side Shock does very little, but we're going to throw it anyway and just nibble away. However, we should be able to switch into Deino, to Seel when the charge move comes through, because then the Lick damage should be able to do us enough to take it down. And so that's what we're going to do here. There we go. Quick switch, Licky Lick, and into an Aquatail. Aquatail hits neutral against the Steel type, which is good. It's a decent solid move. It works really well on Barboach as well. My B team for the season involves throwing Bronzor in the bin because it's so very, very boring, and replace it with a Barboach, I think. I'm going to try that for my next sets tomorrow at this rate. Right, so Sneasel lead. With ice damage, it's going to hit us for super effective, and that's going to hurt, and it's going to resist our dark damage. However, as you can see, we're taking off big chunks of it with just Dragon Breath. They've gone to Tin Pole, so we're going to move into Icy Wind. You can't really go wrong with Icy Wind spam, not in this meta. But, I mean, even against Bronzor, which is basically the only thing that seems to resist Icy Wind, I mean, obviously a few of the waters do, even against Bronzor, you still can actually farm it down with Icy Winds and Licks. So it's actually quite a solid play. Right, same again. Icy Wind's probably overkill here, because it will take them out if they don't shield. But, well, I'm still learning. There we go. Goodbye. In comes a Sentret. Interesting pick. Obviously the Lick doesn't do any damage to them. But Aquitail will if it lands. So are they going to let it through? Nope, get a shield. Great. I think they're using Pound, or maybe that's Scratch. I can't quite tell. However, we're going to move straight into our Deino and nibble away. There we go. And we're going to shield here, because obviously we think our Dragon Breath will do some more good. It's a Brick Break. That would have hurt against our Dark type. And in comes a Sneasel. Not much health left. We're going to let it go through, because it doesn't matter at this point. I don't think they're going to do much against the great big steel bad Penny of Doom. So there we go. Bronzor, shield lead. Sentra's still got some health left, but we've still got a shield, and Psyshock should be enough to take it out. Bronzor doesn't do very much damage at all, and that's why the Bronzor face-offs get so very boring, because they just do hardly any damage to each other. It's worse than Cresselia, believe it or not. I'll have some for you later, I'm sure. Right, Deino into Bronzor again. That's good for us. We resist the moves, and they know that, and they switch to Shelmet. I'm kind of going, well, it's a bug. I don't know what moves it's got. I'm going to let it land and see what happens. And it turns out it's got a Body Slam. So there we go. Shelmet Body Slam against Seel with Icy Wind. I'm going to let this one through as well, on the assumption that it is also a Body Slam. And there it is. So now with our Icy Wind, we should be able to either take them out or take the shield, because we'll hit them quite hard with that Icy Wind. And we'll get the shield, even better. We debuff them, so that means we can now shield against them and maintain shield equality, and hopefully win the switch as well. That's even better. Body Slam going through, we're going to get to an Aquitail, and then there we are, yes, Aquitail going through. Either they can go down another shield against us, or they can... There we go. So, they're down another shield, we're on low health, so we are just going to let this Body Slam land. They can have the switch, we'll take the shield lead. Thank you very much. Going to finish off with Deino, get a little bit of energy off them, and they bring in their own one, but we've got a shield and they haven't, and we've got an energy lead, so the Body Slam's going to come through, it's going to hit them like a truck, and slam, goodbye. In comes their own Bronzor, and we've got a crunch almost ready, so at this point we probably want to shield their charge moves, because the only thing that can really hurt us is heavy slam, and the confusion damage just doesn't really do a great deal here, so we are going to shield. I don't think we need to, because I think we could have finished off with Bronzor, but I just didn't want to go to sleep, so we'll shield against it. This isn't going to quite finish it, but it's close enough. I think the Body Slam might have done the trick, but I didn't want to find out, so off with the crunch we go. Crunch, crunch. Didn't even need the Bronzor, thankfully. What we got next? Right, yes, we've got about halfway through our playlist, so I've got a few more for you. We're into rank 2 now with a nice 5 out of 5 streak on the lead. Because I had a star piece active and I used a premium pass, that got me a nice 7,500 dust, which almost paid for the charge move on one of these things. Right, so Seel on to Deino. They're licking us, so we resist that, and we're able to throw Body Slams in return. I didn't see what they switched to, it was a Cottony. Cottony deletes Deino very hard, double super effective with that charm, and you can't shield it. However, it doesn't like Bronzor, so here we go with the Bronzor. Seed Bomb coming through, doesn't do us any damage at all. We're just going to farm them all the way down with Confusions, because we don't need to hit them any harder than that. And we've got a nice energy lead for what they bring in next. And we throw a Heavy Slam at their Stunky. Shadow Stunkies I've seen a few times. They are pretty glassy, but they do quite a lot of damage. Excuse me. There we go. And they do, of course, resist Confusion, so they have managed to take us out with that. But we've got our Dragon Breath Dark type, and that's going to finish the job quite nicely. And now they've got a Seel in the back, which, as we already know, already has Lick, so it's not going to do us a lot of good. And we've got 2 shields against them, so my opponent concedes. It's a good call. I don't think they had any chance of winning that, because if nothing else, we had our own Seel in the back. So, next up. a laggy matching start, and I don't know what happened there. I assume there was an IV difference or a lag difference, which means their Deino took out my Deino, which was nice. So we're going to go straight into Seel, because Seel's got a little bit more play against it, and if we time it right we can maybe make a switch, but no, we can just lick it all the way down. One of the advantages of lick is even when it's not very effective, say it's against a Deino, because it's a one turn move, it always does 1 DPT anyway. That's quite nice. It's quite a nice feature of the really fast moves. Dragon Breath does the same thing. You know, even against fairies, you will still do actually more damage than you expect with Dragon Breath. So, Devil comes in, we Icy Wind it. This should hit it for neutral, yep. But debuffs it, so we can bring in our Bronzor and finish the job with some confusion damage. Because we debuffed it, we probably didn't need to shield here, but I didn't know what they had, so I decided to shield anyway. Scissors would have hit us for neutral, which is decent, but not going to help. And in comes their own Bronzor. They've got a shield lead, we've got energy lead. This is what I mean about the snooze fest. So their side shot comes through and does next to nothing. Heavy Slam's going to go back and return and do next to nothing. And we repeat. Right, so the important thing with this matchup is I watched a video by Wallower just recently about timing your fast moves and your charge moves to avoid them stealing extra energy. Like that. As you can see, I got an extra confusion through as their charge move came in. And I'd recommend you go watch that video because it's actually quite important in this matchup. It's very and did you see the big damage come through on the Bronzor there? That's because I switched, and I think it's a graphics glitch because it applied the damage as if it was applied to the thing I switched to. So I don't think I've actually taken much damage on my Bronzor there. As you see, it comes back in with more damage than that. They've got low health, I've got energy. Game over. Thank you. Yes, that video by Wallower is worth looking at because it's very important in the Bronzor versus Bronzor matchup, because stealing extra confusions makes a huge difference to the outcome. Right, and there we go. Charmander lead. Charmander hits us for neutral, I think, with Scratch there. And we're hitting it for neutral to return, but we've got Stab and we've got Dragon Breath, and Dragon Breath is just terrifying. So, got the shield, taking the Charmander down, got a bit of energy lead. In comes a Swablu, hazarding a guess that's got something that Bronzor can handle. If it's got Dragon Fairy, then that's good for us. So we're just going to not shield here and hope. I've got a whole load of new moves to learn, and there we go, disarming voice coming through. Doesn't really do us a lot of problems. So we are going to throw a heavy slam here. I think in high shock would have been better, but typically side shock is the cheaper move that does the same damage. So you pretty much that's the one you want in a neutral context. But there we go. So goodbye. It's only slightly cheaper, so it doesn't make a great deal of difference. In comes the Poliwag. Poliwag's an interesting choice. I've been eyeing it up. I was thinking Mud Shot if I was going to run one actually. Mud Shot and maybe Body Slam and Bubble Beam. Anyway, they've got Bubble here and probably Bubble Beam just to be irritating. Because obviously the thing we really want with Bronzor matchups is more of a snooze fest. Although I can't really throw any stones because I've got Icy Wind on my Seel. So yeah, it's all fair really. So Sasha going through and goodbye. Like I say, Bronzor is just such a beast. It's basically carried me through the first 5 sets. Nice easy wins all the way. It's starting to get a bit rougher now. I've got into the Tay sets because lots of people are countering it a lot harder. Weirdly, the people have realised that it is super good. So Deino lead. They switch with Cottony. I switch quickly to my Seel. That was a misplay on my part. I should have gone into Bronzor here, but Icy Wind and Lick still do quite good damage against even a Fairy Grass type. And there we go. And so we're going to shield against them. In comes Seed Bomb. That would hit us for super effective, but Seed Bomb isn't all that powerful a move, it's just quite a cheap move. It's important if what you're using is Charm. And in comes their Deino, and we're just going to go straight for an Icy Wind, because if they don't shield this will hurt quite a lot. And if they do, well, we get the shield, and we debuff them. Sure enough, shield and debuff it is. We bring in our own Deino now, and basically go head to head, and we should be taking them down slightly faster, because obviously they're debuffed and we're not. Crunch comes through, which we shield. I don't know why they use Crunch. I think they should use Body Slam, but maybe they don't have Body Slam. So in comes their Bronzor. We are throwing a Body Slam to try and bait them and get a shield, which fails. That's a disappointment, and so we're just going to move into a Crunch next. This is more likely to get a shield, I think. No, I probably should have shielded that actually, because now they're going to be farm down range for our Bronzor to come in, and my opponent knows that, so good game. Shielding in a Bronzor versus Bronzor face up really hurts because they do no damage, but it is sometimes what you need to tip the match, whereas shielding a Crunch is quite a good value use of a shield. So what have we got next? A bit of loading lag, yes, and Deino versus Seel. They're ice sharding me, so that's hurting a bit, and I switched to Bronzor. This is a mistake on my part. I shouldn't have done that because they're almost certainly going to have a Bronzor counter, and sure enough they do. Getting switch locked to Bronzor is just asking for trouble because people will know about it and counter it hard. It's even worse than Azumarill in that sense. So incoming Crunch. I'm going to throw the body heavy slams back, and as you'll see, even against something that is theoretically quite a good counter to Bronzor, you are still able to do some decent amount of work against it because you're just that sturdy. I shield against this Crunch because obviously I want to deal with their counter, and there we go. And throw heavy slam against it, which they shield, of course, quite sensibly, and I think they're outpacing them slightly to the moves, so we go for a switch to a Seel. They bring in their own Bronzor. That's okay, actually, because it means we can debuff this potentially and farm it down with our own Deino. So Icy Wind goes through. Aqua Tail hits for neutral, but obviously the debuff of Icy Wind adds up, and you'll see how much that does. So incoming Side Shock. Look at that. Almost nothing. It's just... I mean, Seel is fairly chunky. It's a fairly sturdy choice for this meta. But as you add up the debuffs from the Icy Wind, it's like a Dugong without needing the elite TMs. It's a good deal in my book. We can't shield here, but I don't think we need to because I think we might actually survive another Side Shock. Sure enough, we do just about, but only just. Wow. Okay, so Dinos comes in and we farm down and we farm down. Got a nice big energy lead now. In comes the Seel, so we're just going to go back to back body slams. They'll have to shield one or lose their Seel. And they do. And the next one comes through. This one might be enough to take it out. I'm not sure. Like I say, Seel's pretty chunky. And there we go. Not quite. There we go. However, there's a Seel, there's a Bronzor. It's not looking too good for us, but the health is quite low, so we'll see. Aqua Tail takes off half of what we had left. We're building up that energy lead. And I think, ooh, this is going to be very close. Very close indeed. That might be enough. Not quite. No, Heavy Slam doesn't quite take us out. We get to Heavy Slam in return. However, I don't quite click in the right place and over tap. Still, good game to my opponent. I think that was winnable, but it's okay. Bronzor into Deino. So great start for us because we like that one. We're just going to nibble away at that and see if they want to switch. Anticipating a switch on the charge move into a Cubone. Now it's ground type, so I'm going to go into the Seel because obviously ground doesn't really like getting Aqua Tailed. I'm not going to bother faffing around with Icy Winds because Aqua Tail is super effective like that, and whilst Icy Wind does a little bit more, that's plenty, and it would have drawn a shield. Bone Club in return, that's a bit cheeky. That's a really disgustingly cheap move that does next to no damage. I didn't really need to shield that. It's great baked, but bad as a move. In comes the Bronzor again. So we're going to Icy Wind it because everything we really want to do is make this match even slower. So we're going to Icy Wind it and just lick it down. Incoming Side Shock. Doesn't do a huge amount, but does enough. And we're going to get to Aqua Tail, but we can get to an Icy Wind. Even better. So their Bronzor is now a bit knackered, and actually his health's getting quite low. I mean, we're losing, but we're not losing that hard. And in comes the Deino. We're going to take a gamble here that we can soak this and double debuff Heavy Slam. Sure enough, we can. In comes the Shelmet, and we've got a nice big energy lead here, so we are going to be able to go body slams. And there's one. There's two. Shelmet's pretty sturdy. Take a body slam probably, but we don't find out because there we go. However, we've got one left, shield lead, and we've got a Bronzor. So I think this is going to go our way, but we'll see. I'm still a bit vague as to what Shelmet can do, but Bug Buzz is one of them, and Bug Buzz is actually quite a good call here, and so quite a good use of a shield. We block the Bug Buzz, and the Side Shock should now take it out. No, not even. Okay, fair enough. So we're going to have to farm it down with Confusions and hope they don't get another Bug Buzz off, which it looks like they're about to. Does a decent amount and does a defense debuff, so that's actually quite a good call there. But I think they went for a switch there to switch into something else to catch a move, but it was not to be. So good game. Very lagged out in this one as well. What we got? Yep, there we go. Game lagging on start. Don't know where I was going with that. But Vulpix come in, Shadow Vulpix with Body Slam. And they're bringing a Deino, and they farm us down with Dragon Breath. Ouch. So bringing our Seel, because we really don't want to be going head to head with that with a Bronzor. And see them take that apart as well. We shield. The Body Slam's not that deadly, but it is enough. And we're just going to finish off with Lick. As I mentioned, Lick being a one-turn move still does decent damage even when it's heavily resisted. And now their Bronzor comes in, and we're going to Icy Wind it. I don't think this is going to go our way, because I think they've got 2 shields against us and a Bronzor, and we've got no shields and a Bronzor. So I think this is going to be a losing matchup. But we're going to play it out to see what happens. It's possible the Seel can steal a lead here. If we're really lucky, my opponent won't realise that what we've got in the back of the Bronzor and play badly. Heavy Slam, as you can see, doesn't do very much. And the Vulpix in the back also doesn't really like water. So we're going to throw an Aqua Tail and try and get that shield off them. And we do, good out, but they're going to take us down with Embers. So now we've got no shields and a Vulpix with ready moves. What's it going to do? Flame Charge? Flame Charge it is. Alright, so Flame Charge does a decent amount of damage and boosts their attack, which is quite a nice place to be in this fight, because obviously the thing you want to do is finish it a bit faster. However, even so, we did very nearly take down the Vulpix. Good game to my opponent. 3 matches left. Deino and to Deino. So there we go. This is a very IDV dependent matchup. As you can see, I'm going down quite a bit faster than they are, but I'm not sure if that's lag or IVs that are making the difference. However, we'll let the Body Slam land, because that way they've used their energy and they've won the switch, but that's okay, because we can lick them down with the Seel, get the energy lead back ourselves. Right, so down 1 Pokemon each. We've both sort of Queen exchanged our Dinos, and in comes the Bronzor. We're going to Icy Wind it and lick it. What this tells us is that they haven't got anything better to counter Seel than a Bronzor. I mean, Bronzor's a solid counter, but we are actually still quite good against them. So I don't know what they've got in the back, but something that doesn't like lick water. Maybe Fire type. We'll guess on a Fire type. So at this point, oh no, it's a Ducklet. Water type. It's actually interesting, but water versus water is good because we have the non-water lick to do our heavy lifting, and we've got Icy Winds to debuff them. So we're just going to stay in here for the Ducklet, because we can take their Bronzor with our Bronzor, and this is a reasonable matchup for us. However, they've got Bubble Beam, which debuffs us, which is quite irritating, but I suppose we can't really throw stones because we've got Icy Wind to debuff them, and we're just going to slow this match down even further. That's the way to go, right? And lag out a bit, and licky lick. They're going to take us out here, but I don't think it's going to help. Oh. No, Bubble Beam does not quite take us out. So I don't actually throw the Icy Wind and pop the bubbles, because it leaves them with a bit of health left to get a couple more licks in. I don't know if that's helped any, but I think it might actually make the difference here. No. Didn't get to the move, didn't matter. However, I've got a full health Bronzor, they've got a half health Bronzor, and a shield. I don't think it's going to go that way. Good game to my opponent. Next up, we are leading into Cottony. Very bad news for us. You see the charm land? I hope I switch in time. I do switch in time, good. If the charm lands, it does an immense amount. I think it's something like 3 charms to take out a Deino. It's that crazy. This is where we get the Seel versus Bronzor matchup. That's okay. Icy Wind will take its health down, and we'll nibble away. As you can see, it's still doing quite a bit of damage, and it's still taking it down quite steadily. But Heavy Slam is not a good call, because we resist that. Seel is not a Dugong, it does not have the ice typing, so Heavy Slam is not a good choice. I made that mistake myself a bit earlier, so it's fine. Right, so we've got 2 Icy Winds through. We're going to let this one land, because we've got double debuff on there, and we'll see how much damage it does. There we go, Heavy Slam does next to nothing. I'm wondering why my opponent actually only has Heavy Slam at this point, and has done just what I did with the Psy Shock initially. So we're just going to go with an Aqua Tail, get the shield, good, and they are going to finish this off with Confusions. But that's okay, because Deino's going to come in, we're going to be able to shield their Heavy Slam, and finish off with Dragon Breaths. What have they got next? Cottony, we switch out again in a hurry, and there we go, there's a dark type in the back. It's a Purloin with Night Slash, yikes. Okay, so nice fast attack move, and a nice spammy damage move. Right, so we are going to be in trouble here, I think, because they have the shields, and it's taking his part. Well, I'm quite impressed actually. I like the look of that. I might have to get one myself. So I think this is about to take us down because there we go. There's goes Night Slash, and they've got the attack boost as well. Wow, this is going to hurt. Night Slash resisted and still takes out almost all our health. Ouch. And then Cottony comes in and finishes the job. Well, good game to my opponent. Last match. Deino into Deino. Right, so again, IV dependent matchup. We'll see who takes out the other first. I think they're going down slightly slower than us. Okay, so we bring in the Bronzor. We shield the crunch. It was a body slam, but it could have been a crunch. I probably could have been actually. I don't think I counted enough, but still. They bring the Bronzor in, and so we're going to have a little bit of a Bronzor face to face. Because this is a tedious matchup, I'm going to look to switch to the Seel and not shield here. What I want to do is get their move to go off, then switch immediately, because then I've got the maximum amount of time before. And then comes a Cottony. So grass versus water is not a great matchup. However, we do have ice on our side, and we do have lick damage. So there we go. Icy Wind comes through. They're charming us down, and we're just going to throw an Aqua Tail because I don't think we're going to get to another Icy Wind. Okay, I'm going to shield this one because C-Bomb would take us out because it obviously hits super effective. So we're going to go for an Icy Wind. There we go. If they don't shield, this will hurt. They do shield, so we've got the shields down. That's great. Now I'm just going to rush for an Aqua Tail and I hope we get there. We do just about, yep, but I don't think we're going to get the Icy Wind, so we're going to go for the Aqua Tail. This will do not very much because it's resisted, but enough. Enough is good. Right, don't get quite enough to get the Icy Wind off on the Bronzor. However, we've got slightly more health, so we'll see. This is the kind of matchup where the Wallower trick for denying them fast moves is very important. Because obviously one extra confusion makes all the difference in the world. I'm afraid you're going to have to watch it play out. There we go. I like the music. I'm quite enjoying it. I've picked a few off YouTube's no attribution required, and just a ticket for when you've got a snooze fest of a matchup like this. Like I say, I think I'm going to put Bronzor in the bin and put something else in play instead. I'm tempted to think Barboach maybe. That looks like it's got some potential because I like the idea of double water. But anything to have to avoid this again. Good God. I think we're in danger of timing out this match. And there we go. We're swapping heavy slams. Heavy slam coming through. Just think how much more fun this would have been if I got an Icy Wind off. I mean, I'd have won more decisively. My opponent might have conceded at that point without making me play this, but perhaps not. We'll see. So I got the health just about low enough for a heavy slam to finish the job. And there we go. Kabunk. Nope, we're not going to heavy slam off. They've got their heavy slam off. That's not going to be quite enough, I don't think. Nope. Ours is. So this is going to finish the job. There we go. Aren't we lucky we can play this all in slightly accelerated time? We haven't got much time left in the match, but that is a win. Just about. And I think that was the win that got me to rank 5. This season the ranks are only a limited number of wins, so in theory you can get to rank 10 with 50 wins. In practice it might be somewhere up to about 87. But even so, it does mean that if you play even just 1 week of the leagues, you can sit out the other 2 and still get to rank 10 quite viably. So, how did your first day go? You been trying Bronzor? Have you already given up on Bronzor because it's such a snooze fest? I think I have, but I hope you enjoyed this matches nonetheless. Let me know how you're doing, let me know what you're playing. Thanks very much for watching.